This house wasn't always infamous. For years, it was just another beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood on Long Island, New York. Then tragedy struck, and today the home has become known as one of the most haunted places in America. Welcome to DarkCase Files. Today we recount the strange events that took place in the Amityville horror house. In a quiet neighborhood on Long Island, New York, nestled between the bustling cities of New York and the Hamptons, stood an elegant White House with a large porch and windows shaped like eyes. It looked like any other unremarkable house except for what happened there, which made it one of the most famous houses in the history of American mystery. On November 13, 1974, inside this house, 6 people were shot dead by a man who then shot himself. The victims were members of the DeFeo family, and the perpetrator was their brother, David. The murders shocked the nation and raised many questions, such as why David killed his entire family. What led him to plan this brutal massacre? And is he still out there, or is he locked up somewhere? These questions have never received a definitive answer. The media labeled the case as one of the most heinous crimes in history, and the rumors about the house didn't stop coming. A few months after the crime, the property was put up for sale for $80,000, way below its market value. George and Kathy Lutz, a young couple looking for a new home, learned about the deal and went to see the house. It was love at first sight, but they weren't interested in learning about the dark history of the place. After buying it, they moved right in. Everything seemed fine at first. The house was big enough for them and their 3 children. The rooms were spacious and well lit. It was a great house for a good price. However, this idyllic life didn't last long. George and Kathy began noticing some disturbing things happening in the house. At first, it was just strange noises at night, but then the strange occurrences started to take on a life of their own. Some nights, George would wake up suddenly without an alarm clock, and when he turned to his wife to ask what time it was, she told him she was fast asleep. Other nights, he would wake up from a deep sleep and feel an overwhelming urge to get out of the house, as if something terrible was going to happen. When Kathy noticed these strange behaviors in her husband, she asked him if something was wrong. George replied that everything was fine, but something was bothering him, and he couldn't explain it. They also discovered that the temperature in the house would change dramatically for no apparent reason. One moment it would be warm and cozy, and the next it would be freezing cold. They would find themselves putting on sweaters indoors. The children began hearing strange whispers coming from the walls. They also mentioned a strange imaginary friend named John, who they said lived in the house and played with them. Sometimes the children would hear John's laughter echoing through the hallways, although no one was there. The situation got worse, and soon things started moving on their own. Doors would open and close by themselves. Objects would fall off shelves and break. Pictures hanging on the walls would tilt and turn, and strange shadows would appear and disappear in the corners of their eyes. All these strange happenings left them shaken and confused. As days went by, strange smells started to appear in the house. They smelled like rotting meat, stale waste, and even feces. No matter how much they cleaned and aired out the house, the smell never went away. They felt as if some dark presence was haunting their every move. The animals they had, including dogs and cats, refused to go inside the house. They would bark and meow hysterically when approaching the front door, as if sensing some danger. But perhaps the most unsettling was what happened to George. He started acting strangely. He became withdrawn and depressed. He had nightmares every night and would wake up screaming. He had a sudden aversion to his job, which he loved. He didn't want to work anymore. He spent all his time alone in his room, listening to the radio. Kathy was worried sick. She didn't know what had gotten into her husband. One day she found him wandering aimlessly around the neighborhood, talking to himself. When she asked him what was going on, he looked at her blankly and replied that he didn't know. He couldn't remember anything. Kathy wanted to understand what was happening to her husband and sought help from a local priest. The priest listened to her story and decided to perform an exorcism in the house. During the ceremony, he claimed that a demonic entity possessed the house. The moment the priest started reading from the Bible, strange things happened. Books flew off shelves, candles fell to the ground and extinguished, and a heavy crucifix in the hands of the priest became lighter as if something was pulling it. The priest fled the house immediately after. The priest was so frightened that he didn't even bother to collect his belongings. After the priest left, Kathy and George decided they had had enough. They packed their things and left the house. They never returned. George and Kathy sold the house at a loss for $50,000. The story quickly became the talk of the town. Everyone was wondering what had happened in that house. Why had the Lutz family fled? Why did the priest run away? What was so sinister about that place? The truth is, no one knows for sure. In 1977, the events that had taken place in the house were written down in a book called The Amityville Horror. The book became a bestseller and the story spread around the world. The house was now a symbol of fear and terror. People were afraid to go near it. They were afraid that something dark and evil lurked within those four walls. But not everyone believed the story. Many people considered it to be exaggerated and untrue. They claimed that Kathy and George had made up the whole thing to promote the book and make money. But despite all the skepticism, there were witnesses who came forward and claimed that they too had experienced strange things in the house. There were even people who claimed to have seen ghosts and heard strange noises. One investigator who visited the house claimed that the air grew cold and heavy and that he could feel the presence of someone behind him. He turned around but saw nothing. Another person who visited the house claimed that she felt a hand touch her shoulder. She turned around, but when she did, she saw no one. There were also reports of shadow figures seen moving through the house. Some people even claimed to have seen apparitions of the DiFio family members. So what's the truth? Was there really something supernatural going on in the house? Or was it just a psychological effect due to prior knowledge of the place's history? This question has never received a clear answer and probably won't ever. Perhaps there was some truth to the story and perhaps some exaggeration. Who knows? What we do know is that the Lutz family had a strange experience in that house. Whether it was real or imagined doesn't matter. The important thing is that they felt it, and this feeling of dread and terror has become part of the house's history. In the years since the Lutz family left, many people have tried to make sense of what happened there. There have been investigations, documentaries, and even scientific studies, but nothing has been able to explain the strange occurrences in the house. Today, the house stands as a symbol of mysterious horror in American culture. It's known as one of the most haunted places in the country, and people still tell stories about it. If you're ever in the area, be sure to look it up. You never know what you might find. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out our other videos. We have a ton of similar content that we know you'll enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.